Emmett Till was a 14-year-old teen, and he was brutally murdered in Money, Mississippi. The lynching of Emmett was the key turning point of the civil rights movement because the outcry of injustice sparked a national movement.
Emmett Lewis Till, also known as Bobo, was born on July 25, 1941, to Mamie and Lewis Till. Emmett grew up in a thriving, middle-class black neighborhood on Chicago's South Side.
Emmett never met his father because his parents separated before he was born, shortly after Lewis Till was drafted in the Army to fight in World War II. 2 years later, Mamie Till received news that her ex-husband was killed for unknown reasons. The only remains that she received from her ex-husband were a ring inscribed with his initials, which she later gave to Emmett.
Emmett and his mother were like brother and sister because his mother Mamie did not raise him because she had to work. However, Emmett was raised by his grandmother while Mom went to work. Emmett would love to play with his cousins and friends on 63rd Street.
Emmett's great-uncle Moses Wright was visiting Chicago for a funeral. One of Emmett's cousins was going to travel back to Money, Mississippi with Moses Wright to stay for the summer. Emmett heard about his cousin going to Mississippi and he wanted to go too. Emmett begged his mom to allow him to take the trip to Mississippi over the summer, and even though she had reservations, she allowed Emmett to go.
Emmett and his mom met his Uncle Wright and his cousin at the 12th Street station. He left his watch with his mom because he didn't think he would need to keep time where he was going. But he wanted to keep the ring that his mother gave him from his dad. Emmett was very proud of the ring because it was the only thing to remind him of his father. So Mamie and Emmett waited for the train to Mississippi. However, Mamie never knew that this would be the last time she'll see her son alive.
Mississippi was a different way of living than it was in Chicago. Because of Emmett's free-spirited personality, he didn't fully understand the rules of racial segregation and the laws that came with a racist state.
As Emmett arrived to Money, Mississippi, he played in the fields and worked around the house. He and his cousins decided to walk to the store and Money where other boys their age hung out. Emmett and his cousins went into the Bryant store to purchase candy. Emmett's cousin left out of the store and didn't realize that Emmett was still fooling around in the store. Emmett purchased some candy and left out of the store.
There are many accounts of what happened in the store, whether Emmett touched the white clerk's hand when he gave the money or not. However, when Emmett and his cousins left the store, the white clerk, Mrs. Bryant, walked out of the store to her car, and Emmett did the unthinkable. He made a wolf whistle at her.
Emmett shocked his cousins by his behavior. Emmett's actions in the Bryant store spread throughout the town. Emmett and his cousins were petrified and feared that something bad was going to happen. Reluctantly, the cousins had to tell Uncle Moses what had happened at the Bryant store. The family urged Uncle Moses to send Emmett on the next train smoking to Chicago.
3 days later, at 2:30 in the morning, there was a knock at Mose Wright's door. Mr. Bryant wanted to talk to the boy who was from Chicago and did a lot of fast talking. Moses reluctantly allowed Mr. Bryant to enter the home because he feared for his life, and Mr. Bryant had a pistol in his hand. But he assured Moses that all he wanted to do was talk to the boy. Mr. Bryant grabbed Emmett out of his bed, dragged him out of the house, assuring Moses that he would take him up the road, whooping him and bring him back. Mrs. Wright offered money if they would let Emmett go, but Mr. Bryant and Mr. Milam were uncompromising. Emmett was put into the back of the truck, and they pulled off into the night. They took him 30 miles away to a farm in Drew, Mississippi.
Uncle Moses and Emmett's family waited patiently for Mr. Bryant and Mr. Milam to bring him back. But as the night turned into dawn, they knew they weren't going to bring him back.
Days later, Emmett's body was discovered in the Tallahatchie River, bound with a barbed wire to a 70-pound cotton gin fan. The funeral home wanted to bury Emmett immediately, because they didn't want to have any flack from the state of Mississippi due to what was done to Emmett's body. So the funeral home arranged for a burial and had Emmett almost in the ground until Mamie Till and the Chicago officials requested to have the body returned to the mother in Chicago.
The body was returned to Chicago so that Mamie Till could finally see her son before burying him. The funeral director did not want to open the box that contained Emmett's body, but Mamie insisted to see her son. Mamie was not prepared to see what was in the box.
Had been choked out and it was lying down on his chin. I saw that this eye was out and it was lying about midway the cheek. I looked at this eye and it was gone. I looked at the bridge of his nose and it looked like someone had taken a meat chopper and chopped it. And I looked at his teeth because I took so much pride in his teeth. His teeth were the prettiest things I'd ever seen in my life, I thought. And I only saw two. Where are the rest of them? They'd just been knocked out. And I was looking at his ears. His ears were like mine. They curled. They're not attached, and they curled up. The same way mine are. And I didn't see the ear. Where's the ear? And that's when I discovered a hole about here, and I could see daylight on the other side. I said, now, was it necessary to shoot him? If that's a bullet hole, was that necessary? And I also discovered that they had taken an axe and they had gone straight down across his head, and the face and the back of the head were separate.
The funeral director wanted to know if Mamie preferred a closed casket. Mamie Till said that she wanted to have an open casket and not to do anything to fix up the body because she wanted the world to see what they did to her son. Thousands waited to see Emmett's body, and many screamed and fell out in hurt and pain. Mamie allowed spectators to view the body even after the funeral was over. Mamie's courageous acts allowed America to deal with its ugly, racist problems.
Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam were arrested for the murder of Emmett Lewis Till. Mamie Till received tons of death threats and vicious letters encouraging her not to attend the trial. During the trial, tons of people came out. As Mamie would walk from her car into the courthouse, spectators looking on would point their guns at her. Pictures of Emmett's body appeared in the Jet magazine, which revealed the ugly monster of racism that America had to deal with.
Testimony from Moses Wright was the most damaging. Moses pointed to J.W. Milam and said that he was the one who took Emmett from the house. Moses' action put his life on the line from the vicious racists. His action was very courageous because he spoke the truth in front of a courtroom filled with white people. But Moses was determined to tell the truth by any means necessary. The all-white jury came back after less than an hour with a not guilty verdict. The courtroom cheered with great happiness.
Moses Wright was so disappointed with the verdict that he told his family that they must leave Mississippi immediately. Moses didn't feel safe anymore in Money, Mississippi.
The grand jury of Greenwood, Mississippi agreed to hear evidence related to the kidnapping charges against Roy Bryant and J.W. Milam. But after 15 minutes, The grand jury did not return an indictment.
People from all over the United States were outraged of the injustice. J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant confessed their story in the Look magazine for $4,000. J.W. Milam and Roy Bryant were protected by the double jeopardy rule for being tried again after their confession in the magazine. Mamie Till Mobley died on January 6, 2003. She never saw justice for the murder of her son.
Due to the courageous acts of Mamie Till and the key decisions that she made, kept this story alive and shared all over the